canceling $10,000 worth of student loan debt. That's a good thing, no? Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America.
And you ain't black.
The first time ever any...
What are you people? We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent, and this is Middle America with Vin and Sori. We're not left wing, we're not right wing, we're just right. If you want to be part of the community, check us out, facebook.com/America Middle. I will warn you, it is a free speech environment, so proceed with caution. But that's usually where I get most of the ideas for my story. So the big news that just broke is that Mr. Biden is forgiving the student loan debt up to $10,000 if you make less than $125,000 a year, I believe, $125,000 a year. So if you're grossing less than $125K a year, then you get $10,000 of your student loan forgiven, meaning you don't have to pay it. There has been to my knowledge, a moratorium on having to pay back the student loan amounts due to the pandemic. That moratorium, I think, is on the way. Matthew Miller says if it was actually forgiven, like boom, gone, I'd be for it. Instead, the money has to come from somewhere. Yeah, the money has to come from somewhere. I agree. So here is Fox News's take on what's going on relative to the student loan debt. So almost anyone with a teaching degree. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure teachers don't make anywhere near $125 a year. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that I'm right, that for the most part, teachers are not making that kind of money. Okay, so I want to look at the Republican response to this, and that's not completely fair to say that Fox News is the Republican response, but it is what it is. So here is Fox News's take on the breaking news that Mr. Biden is going to forgive $10,000 worth of student debt. Let's check it out, shall we?
All right, let's bring in Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez. Congressman, good morning to you. What are you hearing about the president's plan to cancel $10,000 of student loan debt? Is this going to happen?
Well, apparently, all the people are saying it is going to happen. Something's going to happen in this, in that area. So I think it's ridiculous. It's really a slap in the face of the people that chose not to go to college. And
I'm one of those people. I chose not to go to college. I don't have a penny of student loan debt at all. And I don't feel slapped in the face. I feel happy that people who were under crushing debt now have a glimmer of hope. I don't see how those people being helped is a slap in the face to me. I had the good providence of having too many mental health issues when I was around 17 or 18 to get to be part of the higher education racket. I again, for me, I don't feel slapped in the face, but maybe there are people who genuinely do feel slapped in the face by the fact that some people are getting their student loan debt forgiven. Maybe people feel slapped in the face about it. I'm saying I personally do not. Okay, I don't. I'm actually pretty happy, to be honest with you. We continue.
So you got most of this money is going to go to people in the upper 60%. White collar, went to college. It was their own choice. They decided to go to college and put this debt on themselves. And now, everyday hardworking Americans are going to have to pay them, basically bail them out and pay higher taxes in order for them to get this bailout. I think that's it's not the right thing to do. And
Now hardworking Americans are going to have to bail these people out. Well, what are these people doing? Are they not working? They're just sitting around doing nothing? They made the choice to go to school. They made the choice to have to take part in these higher education, whatever. What's fascinating to me is that when this guy went to college, his overall tuition was probably $400 or $500, right? The generation of people that are saying this about people who are struggling financially and under the burden and the weight of this economic system that we're in. The revisionist history and the gaslighting is absolutely amazing. You didn't spend anything near the type of money that people in our generation spent for student loan debt. What we're talking about is a very specific slice of the American society. I just read a report today that a lot of young kids now, they're like, man, I ain't going to college. They look at college as a racket. Now you've got economies where young people feel like they can strike out on their own, do things like YouTube, whatever, although it's extremely difficult to become successful at YouTube. Like I was reading this thread and you had all these young people and they were like, yeah, I'm just going to do YouTube. It's YouTube or bust. And I'm like, man, YouTube is extremely difficult to figure out as far as generating revenue goes. But the point is, millennials and zillennial, I mean, I'm at the end of the zillennial thing. I consider myself more of a Gen Xer, but we continue. Millennials and zillennials are like, man, I ain't doing this school thing. It's a racket. And this guy's generation was paying $400 or $500 a year for school. It's a specific slice of the pie that got completely victimized by education propaganda. And when he says they made a choice to do that, when people say they made a choice to be part of school loans, I'm going to argue that it actually wasn't a choice. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but when I was coming up, and I was in school, the constant mantra is, if you don't have a college education, you're going to be poor and destitute for the rest of your life. Your average life expectancy goes down. All types of crazy shit. I don't know if you remember that, but as a Gen Xer, millennial, when I was in school, that was the constant thing. You're going to be a loser. You're going to be a loser. You're going to work at 7-Eleven for the rest of your life, blah, blah, blah. If you don't have a college degree. That's what you told us. We were 16, 17-year-olds as juniors and seniors in high school. I remember very clearly I was in Truman High School. It was Mr. Rosenberg's math class in second period, and in walks the because when you hit junior and senior year, all the college folks would show up to recruit and all the rest of it. And the guy from, the CUNY was the city school system in New York City. It's called CUNY, College and Universities of New York, I think CUNY stands for. So they had all these CUNY people coming in and telling us about how awesome the school is, which is great. But the big message was, if you don't go to school, you're going to be poor. You're going to live in the ghetto for the rest of your life. You don't want to live in the ghetto for the rest of your life, do you, young man? I was like, no, Mr. CUNY person, I don't want to live in the ghetto for the rest of my life. And he's trying to shoot me and all that shit. Hell no, I want to get out. They said the only way out is education. You guys aren't going to be rappers. You're not going to be basketball players. We care about your education. That's the ticket out of the hood. And they said, somebody was like, oh, okay, but I don't have the money to pay for it. They're like, don't worry about it. We'll give you a loan. You're all set. You're okay. They didn't tell us that we were not guaranteed anything just because we had a degree. They didn't tell us about that we'd be paying student loan debt for 15, 20 years after the fact. They didn't tell us any of that shit. All they said was, if you don't go to college, you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. So when he says, hey, you took on this debt, where's your personal responsibility? Wait a second. No, it was your generation that told our generation when we were 16 and 17 that unless we went to school, we would all be broken poor. How is that different from the mafia showing up at your pizza establishment and saying, hey, you guys are doing really good. It'd be a shame if somebody firebombed your little establishment here. Maybe you could deploy some people to protect you. How is that different from an adult showing up to a bunch of impressionable 16 and 17-year-olds? You're getting that message from your parents. Your parents paid $500 in total for their college. So your parents, they don't know what's going on. They don't know about the evolution of the big banks and big education and how they work together. They don't understand that. It's the same thing with the healthcare situation. This guy's generation, there wasn't the confluence of big government and big pharma that screwed up the healthcare system in America. So this guy is taking his experience and acting like it was all of our experience, and all of us, we're operating on a level playing field, and these 16 and 17-year-olds, because that's how old you are when you're a junior and a senior, got themselves into this debt prior to their even the oblongata is not even complete until like 21 or 22 or something like that. These kids get themselves into an insane amount of debt with an insane APR, and now when the bottom falls out, this guy shows up and says, hey, hey, a lot of people didn't go to college. What about them? When you guys were telling us that the people that didn't go to college were losers. Now you're saying, hey, they're somehow superior to the kids that went to college. No, I'm not superior than people who have student loan debt. Okay? Like I said, I would have gotten into it just like everybody else if I didn't have the mental health episodes I had. So this is absolute dishonesty from these people. This is completely dishonest. No, we did not choose that. You extorted an entire generation of people to do this. And now when the bottom falls out, you want to wash your hands and say, hey, man, the whole personal responsibility thing. I'm a big believer in personal responsibility, major believer in personal responsibility, but I am also a Christian. You know what that means? Here's what Jesus said. He said, temptations to sin are inevitable, but woe to the one from whom it comes. The point is, the people that have the most power should always, always, always be held the most responsible. I'm going to say that again, because when we're talking about personal responsibility, I'm sorry, right-wingers, I love you to death, and I'm a big fan of personal responsibility, but it's never articulated accurately from my experience from the right side. The people that have the most power and influence should be held most responsible. And the scale of responsibility needs to be delineated according to the power and social position of the folks in question. That's the reason we have things like child labor laws and things of that nature, and domestic violence laws and things of that nature. It's designed to protect weaker folks in our society from more powerful folks in our society. So when we talk about personal responsibility, we have got to start with the people who are most powerful, and then we can distribute responsibility accurately. The people that are most responsible for the student loan crisis are not the 16 and 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds who were extorted. It is the college and university system in concert with the big banks who did this. They're the most responsible, and they should be held most accountable. So if you're on the right and you're talking about personal responsibility, bro, I'm with you. But let's start with the people that have the most power. We don't give the people who have all the power and the money, we don't look away from them and go after the 17-year-old who was fucking extorted. Again, they came into our schools. There were commercials. You couldn't watch a TV show. I don't know if you guys remember this in the 90s, early 2000s. If you don't go to college, you're going to be a loser. They weren't coming in school telling us to pick up a trade and all this other shit. No, everybody was telling us to go to college. Now you want to tell these kids, oh, too bad, personal responsibility. Nah, bro. I believe in personal responsibility. These banks and these schools are personally responsible for the student loan debt crisis in America. They're majorly responsible. And once we deal with those people, I'm good, bro. I'm good with holding the 17-year-old responsible after that. Good night. I mean, think about this, guys. I'm not even going to go there because people are going to get distracted. We continue.
Certainly adding another $300 billion to the deficit. But again, the Democrats just are going to spend. And so you got most of this money is going to go to people in the upper 60%. White collar, went to college. It was their own choice. They decided to go to college and put this debt on themselves. And now, everyday hardworking Americans are going to have to pay them, basically bail them out and pay higher taxes in order for them to get this bailout. I think that's it's not the right thing to do, and certainly adding another $300 billion to the deficit. But again, the Democrats just are going to spend, trying to buy votes before the November midterms.
Trying to buy votes. Because these people are not in this horrible situation. And by the way, if you thought it was buying votes, then is all the Republicans, when they promise tax breaks for corporations, because corporations are people too, which I don't completely disagree with, by the way. But when the right was offering all of this, all of these financial perks to Fortune 200 companies, I didn't see any report on Fox News talking about personal responsibility and all this other shit and all the rest of it. Now you want to talk about adding $300 billion to the $300 billion to the deficit. Okay, $300 million to debt. $300 billion to deficit. My bad. Okay, so here we go. Here is the defense budget. Let's play this out because there's only 2 minutes left. Let's let them play out, and then we'll talk about some other stuff. Anyway.
Wait a second, but I thought that the Inflation Reduction Act was such a great thing because it was going to decrease the deficit by $300 billion. If this costs $300 billion, then what was the point of that? And you also have Larry Summers saying that canceling student loan debt would increase inflation.
Oh, right. I mean, it absolutely does.
Right. It's the social programs that are the reason that inflation is the way it is. It's not because of incalculable greed and predatory capitalism. It's not like billionaires doubled and quadrupled their money during the pandemic and all that other stuff. No. The only reason we're dealing with inflation, the reason you're paying $1,000 for a trip at Walmart, is because we are forgiving the student loan debt of people. It's the social programs that are the problem, not predatory capitalism. We didn't see that thing where I think it was Applebee's was saying, hey, these people need gas money, so we can pay them minimum wage now because we have them over a barrel. No. That was all because of social programs. So we continue.
Because it puts, another $300 billion into the economy and $300 billion circulating. That's all, adds to inflationary pressure. And so, look, you never listen to what the Democrats actually say, do you? I mean, the Anti-Inflation Act has got nothing to do with anti-inflation. It's really about 87,000 new IRS agents coming after us and to try to get another $200 billion from our pockets to pay for all these, Green New Deal and all the other stuff that the Democrats want to pay for, including, I guess, this bailout. The Democrats will stop at nothing in order to try to, maintain control in the House and Senate this November, and this is just one way to try to do that by getting these, these young people that have student debt to be grateful to them for giving $10,000 worth of debt.
Yeah, the other thing, Congressman, is that the president does keep on bragging about the unemployment rate. It's at 3.5%. He made a speech earlier this month, called it the lowest unemployment rate in history in over 50 years. More people are working than at any point in American history. So why would we be canceling student loan debt now for people who signed a contract saying they would pay this money? And
because they were kids when they signed the contract, ma'am. Because they were extorted by the media, the banks, and the, quote, education system, ma'am. And now, because our government shut down our economy for a full year, everybody's fucked up. Inflation is insane. Wages haven't increased along with the percentages of the inflation that has happened. And we're in a recession, depending on how you define the term. That's why. This whole idea, you signed a contract. Sorry. I'm sorry. But you want to put all the responsibility on the kids. You want to put all the responsibility on kids whose literal brains haven't even completely formed yet. You want to hold them to that standard of, quote, responsibility. And you want to tell millions of people, tough luck, man. Yeah, we G'd you out of your money, but hey, it is what it is. Tough luck.
Have jobs.
I mean, the only explanation that I have at this point, it's basically trying to buy votes. You know, $10,000 is a nice incentive. But, you know, I think that even the people that are, you know, maybe getting this, you know, forgiveness, this $10,000 loan forgiveness, I think they're smart enough to know that it's really not the right thing to do. They'll take the $10,000.
They're smart enough. They know it's the wrong thing to do to let the, you know, you're not paying back these predatory banks with these crazy loans. They know what the right thing to do is. Man, listen. Whoo! Help me, Lord. The right thing to do. In what context? Because now you're talking about morality. And this is Fox News. So, in what context is something like this? Dear listener, let me just give you a quick example. In the Old Testament, we're talking about the Old Testament here. We're talking about the ancient Near East, an extremely rough way to live. And you guys know if I say I'm going Old Testament on you, you know that shit's about to get harsh because the Old Testament Tzitz and Laban was harsh. And in the Old Testament, if somebody went into debt for you, if you went into debt, you could only hold that debt over them for 7 years. Once the 7 years was completed, the guy went back to zero. It didn't ruin his credit, etc., etc. He was able to live. On top of that, you were not allowed to charge interest to a citizen, of a fellow citizen. You couldn't lend it interest. An excessive usury is what it's called. So don't try to bring morality into this because from a biblical worldview, which I'm assuming this guy would say that he holds to, this kind of predatory lending was spoken against explicitly, and it's one of the reasons God gave in Isaiah for why he destroyed the entire country, was exploiting the poor, which is what this is. The audacity of these people to bring morality into this. There is no way to harmonize predatory capitalism with anything relative to Jesus. Did you hear what I just said? I didn't say that means that Jesus is a socialist or a communist, because Jesus is not anybody's political mascot. But even the Old Testament had an explicit anti-exploitative system. Now here you go talking about all these kids, they need to do the right thing. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable.
Thank you very much. But I'm not sure that it's going to translate into votes come November. And also the other people, the rest of us that are paying for it are certainly not going to be really happy that we're going to have to.
The rest of us. I'm sorry, but it's going to get redistributed via taxes, right? And so those kids are going to be paying that as well. It's not like everybody that's got student loan just gets a free ride and they don't pay taxes either. Ridiculous. No. The bad guys are not those kids that were extorted. The bad guys were the people that extorted those kids and had those kids sign on a dotted line when they weren't even completely fully formed human beings yet. Unbelievable, these people.
You know, pony up $10,000, you know, the additional taxes so that, you know, a smaller group of people can get.
I forgot about that. In Islamic countries, They don't charge interest. It's called riba, R-I-B-A. And Muhammad said that the people who do that have a miserable time in the afterlife in hellfire. People that charge all that crazy kind of interest. And I know how Fox News views the Islamic world. So how is it that the Islamic world even knows? I'm saying this from their perspective because they have no respect for Islamic people. How is it these Islamic people have a more merciful economic system than you? Holy smokes, I know. They're taking the 10,000, but they know it's the wrong thing to do. Man, if I had student loan, I would take that $10,000. I would be spiking the football 10,000 times. I'd make 10,000 videos. What do you mean? They know that it's wrong to get the $10,000 forgiven. Man. Oh, my God. My brother Perkinos, who always comes to help me, says, "Give us our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors." That's part of the that's part of the big prayer, right? Why does Fox News hate what Jesus taught us to pray so much? I mean, it's called student debt forgiveness. Isn't that supposed to be our wheelhouse as Christians? Forgiveness? Isn't that something we'd be like, whoa? Yeah, and what's crazy is they're saying, oh, you have this $10,000 to buy votes. Nah, bro. That $10,000 is to buy God's forgiveness so he doesn't fuck up our country for exploiting the poor. Maybe we can buy God's forgiveness by letting these people off the hook. Have any of you Christians ever thought of that? This is wrong, what we've done to people in this country. And I'm saying we because I'm an American. I was almost a victim of this bullshit. Imagine a country where a kid ends up saying, you know, me wanting to kill myself when I was 17 and 18 actually turned out for my benefit, because if I didn't, I'd have been strapped with all this debt. Think about that. Think. That's the country you live in. That's the country you live in. Holy shit. We continue.
A $10,000 break. It's just not right, and I think it's going to cost them in the end.
Congressman Carlos Jimenez,
it's just not
thank
right.
you so much for joining us on this. We appreciate it.
It's just not right. Look at him. Look at it. It's just not right. It's just not right. It's just morally wrong. It's going to put $300 billion. You guys need to watch these videos before you send them to me. Let me get all in my feelings. This man actually, you actually trying to moralize predatory capitalism? You're trying to moralize predatory capitalism. Oh my gosh. All right. Here. Let's look at this, huh? Here are some, because this guy's talking about morality. So when you talk about morality, you're oftentimes outside of the law. So here you go. Let's look at what the Bible has to say about exploiting the poor, because this guy just made a moral argument. The audacity of some of these people, I got to tell you guys, sometimes I struggle. I struggle. This man tried to talk about the right thing, as if he has any understanding of what the right thing is here from a biblical perspective. Here's what the Bible tells us about how to handle people like that. Whoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth or gives to the rich will only come to poverty. Whoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth or gives to the rich will only come to poverty. This was written thousands of years ago. I know most of you think the Bible's a bunch of hooey, but did that not just describe this guy? He wants to oppress the poor. He's fine with tax cuts for the rich. That's literally right there. Do not rob the poor because he is poor, or crush the afflicted at the gate, for the Lord will plead the cause and rob of life those who rob them. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to Yahweh. He will repay him for his deed. Okay, so we're talking about student debt forgiveness. By the way, all the passages I just read to you are in the Old Testament. He's talking about student lent forgiveness. So here it is. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord. So here it is. All you people that are saying it's immoral, this student loan forgiveness, don't you understand? You're being generous to poor kids who got blackmailed and extorted, and you're not even canceling that debt for that person. You're giving it to God. That's what the text says. That's how we're supposed to look at helping the poor. We're doing a service to God. You don't walk around and tell poor people that they're criminal for being poor, and that them being, quote, bailed out is some sort of wonderful gift from on high. That is our basic obligation, so that God doesn't destroy our country. Didn't you see? The Lord will plead their cause and rob of life those who rob them. That's the poor. Ezekiel, here's Proverbs 17. Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. What's the connection between being glad at calamity and mocking the poor? It's saying, hey, man, you signed a contract. I know that this was an evil, satanic contract that's going to fuck up your life for the rest of your life. But, hey, you signed it. Ezekiel 22. The people of the land have practiced extortion and committed robbery. They have oppressed the poor and needy and have extorted from the sojourner without justice. The audacity of these people to bring up morality in this discussion is mind-boggling. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all the major world religions talk about this. Using excessive usury to extort the poor. And literally, the Old Testament is only in one direction. Take care of the poor, I'm going to fuck you up. That's the Old Testament. The nerve of this guy to try to bring up morality and say what the right thing or what the wrong thing is in the context of Fox News. I'm going to assume most of these people are, quote, Christians. This is fucked. This is wrong. It's not biblical. And let me show you a couple other things that you may want to look at. Check this out. Check this out. This guy's talking about $300 billion, what it's going to do to the economy, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all right, you're right. You do have to think about the economy, guys, okay? Here is the average student loan debt that these people are carrying, okay? The average American person with student loan debt was between $20,000 and $25,000 for a bachelor's degree. In 2020, bachelor's degree earners from public and private nonprofit four-year schools who graduated with student loan had an average of $28,000. 28 grand for a bachelor's degree. What is a bachelor's degree gonna get you in America right now? Tell me. Tell me. So the average person for a fucking bachelor's is 28.4. Now watch this. On top of that 28.4 is this. A 6% average student loan rate. Among all student loans, federal or private. That's the average, 5.8. The average federal loan interest rate is 4.12 between 2020 and 2021. All federal student loan interest rates fell on average at 31%. Yippee. So you're paying almost 30 grand at 6%. And what kind of job are you going to get with a bachelor's degree? And what can you afford to pay off after you deal with all this inflation, gas prices, etc.? I'd like to know. But wait. Now here's sketch therapy. I despise the neo-lib nanny Marxist as much as the neocon war Marxist. I'm not a blind tribalist in the cult of partisanship, neither is a host by what I've seen. Well, I appreciate that, Sketch, but I don't think you know the first thing about Marx or Marxism for you to say that. because a lot I was reading the New Testament to my son one time, and he said, "It sounds like AOC. He sounds like an SJW." I was like, "That's Jesus." You weirdo. That's my son. Shout out to Dorian. Check this out, guys. Check this out. I want to show you something else, because I know very little about Marx. I've just read a couple books, Sketch Therapy. But I know that what you're talking about, aside from Marx, I don't care about Marx right now. I wasn't quoting Marx. I was quoting the Bible. And these people are extortionists. And I guess forgiving exorbitant debt is a Marxist principle. So that would mean that Moses is a Marxist then. Because Moses didn't believe in holding people in debt for their whole life. Sketch. So I guess Moses was a Marxist. I guess Jesus was a Marxist. I guess the early church fathers were Marxists. They were all Marxists. I guess the Apostle James was a Marxist. Let's see what let's see what the apostles had to say. What the apostles had to say about the rich. Because anytime I say something against the rich, this term Marxist always comes up, and I can always tell when somebody hasn't read Marx when they talk about that. Shout out to Sketch though for having the courage of his convictions. Here you go, Sketch. Here. You tell me which political system this sounds like. You could tell me if it's a capitalist context or a Marxist context. If a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothes comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, "You sit here in a good place," while you say to the poor man, "You stand over there," or "Sit down at my feet," have you not then made distinction among yourself and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brothers. Has not God chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which has promised to those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor man. Are not the rich the ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court? Now, when a lot of our religious friends hear this, they say, "Oh, that's class warfare. That's Marxist class warfare. It's saying that the rich are bad, etc." Are not the rich the ones who oppress you and the ones who drag you into court? By the way, in the first century context, why are the rich dragging people to court? It's to pay off debts that they couldn't pay because they were poor. Sketch. It's right there in the text. Aren't they the ones that are dragging you guys to court all the time? That's what they're saying about the rich. I'm sorry, Sketch, but maybe James, the brother of Jesus Christ, was also a Marxist. Subhanallah. James was a Marxist. God help us. All right, let's check this out. Here we go. Here we go. You got Ving triggered. No, the Marxist thing didn't get me triggered. The guy on Fox talking about trying to moralize this nonsense with student loan debts. That's the thing that got me triggered. Most of the time when people say Marxist, I can tell where they're coming from, and I can tell they almost certainly haven't read anything relative to Marx, obviously. But again, my point is, if you read James chapter 1, that's Marxism. So I guess James, the brother of Jesus, was a Marxist. I guess Moses was a Marxist. I mean, good thing we have modern day American Christians to guide us in the right way, and to tell us that God was really for predatory capitalism and not for the poor. Okay, here, this is something you might you might be interested, because this brother was complaining it's $300 billion into the budget. I mean, that's terrible. It's $300 billion. You don't have to pay $300 billion. I mean, we got to pay for all that stuff. Yeah, you're right. Here we go. The United States spent $754 billion on national defense during fiscal year 2021. You are complaining about $300 billion in student loan forgiveness when last year alone we spent $754 fucking billion on jihad. War. Where are we going to pay for it? That's the first thing somebody asks, and no disrespect to the people that ask. How are we going to find the money to pay off this student loan debt for these kids? Look at inflation, blah, blah, blah. $754 billion fucking dollars. $754 billion on war. Which is also a social program. How comes when it's time to help kids and help young adults who are starting out in life, how come when it's time to help them, that's Marxism? But now, when I'm taking my hard-earned dollars, you're taking my money and distributing it overseas to fucking destroy people's lives. That's not Marxism. That's defense. But when it's time to help a person that's in our country, a citizen of our country, now that's Marxism. $754 billion on war last year. It's the defense budget. Let me ask you a question, dear listener. It's the defense budget, right? Right? Like karate is self-defense. Who was attacking us last year? Like who attacked us last year that we had to defend ourselves from? Because it's the defense budget. Who attacked us last year? Who bombed us last year? Who droned us last year? We needed $754 billion fucking dollars. And how did we pay for that? But you see how deceptive these fucking people are? He went on Fox News talking about, oh, it's just not right. It's just not right. It's $300 billion. I mean, how are we going to afford that? We spent $754 billion last year on war. That's literally over twice the amount of what's being proposed here. And by the way, that's not even to cut the average in half. I just showed you. The average person is paying $30,000 for a fucking bachelor's degree, which can get you nothing in America. So $10,000 still puts them 20 grand in the hole with a 6% interest rate. But that's it, to relieve that person and give them some help. That's socialism. But this is okay. $754 billion fucking dollars on war. Here. Let's itemize. Let's look at the where we're putting this money. I didn't think I was going to be this angry. But I got to tell you, when people start trying to moralize their fucking greed, it's one thing, that's why I appreciated Trump. They're like, yo, man, are you going to give those Iraqis their oil back or those Syrians their oil back? And your man Trump was like, hell no, I'm not going to give them. We ain't going to give it to them for free. I mean, they might be able to buy it back from us. We spent a lot of money going into their country. Okay, I appreciate that. But don't try to take your greed and all the other shit, and your hyper predatory capitalism, don't try to moralize that shit, bro, especially on Fox News with all these people calling themselves Christians. Don't give these people any sort of deception that they're somehow on the side of good when they're out there extorting the poor. These are the people that God wants to kill. I didn't say that. You just read it. He said, if you rob the poor, I'll rob you of your life. How's that? God said that, not me. So yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Now look at Sketch. Instead of Sketch dealing with the actual biblical arguments, he's not even touching them. Call in, Sketch. Call in and tell us all how that's okay to spend $754 billion on jihad, but we can't help out people from predatory capitalism. Please. Unbelievable. Here we go. You guys know how I get down. Let's itemize where we're spending this money. Shall we? The Department of Defense releases the President's fiscal year 2023 budget. Here's the Department of Defense. Let me read it to you guys. I am proud to join President Biden today in submitting the fiscal year 2023 budget. Our department's budget will help us continue to defend the nation, take care of our people, and succeed through teamwork with our allies and partners. Okay, so here we go. We're going to defend America. Who's attacking us? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know who's attacking us, but we need a defense budget. All right, we continue. This $773 billion budget request reinforces our commitment to the concept of integrated deterrence. 773. That is what, 20 billion more than last year. Last year we spent 775. This year we're talking, last year we spent 754. This year we're talking about $773 billion. Instead of dealing with the Marxist statement you highlighted, you changed the topic to religion. Nice deflection. Sketch, call me. I'm going to talk about the defense budget, and then you can call me. We'll have a nice discussion about Marxism. Sketch, are you a Christian? I'm not deflecting. Sketch, I'm telling you to call up the show. Once we get done with this budget, you can call me up and you can explain to me where I'm wrong, especially from a Christian perspective. If you're a Christian, I really want to know how I would be wrong here. But if not, that's okay. So Sketch is going to call up. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to have a nice discussion, respectful, after we talk about the defense budget, inshallah. This $773 billion budget reinforces our commitment to the concept of integrated deterrence. Okay, now he's going to break down, he's going to itemize what we're talking about here. You ready? This is for fiscal 2023, and how much you want to bet it gets passed. How much you want to bet every Republican on the planet votes for this. Let's see. To those ends, we're requesting nearly $56 billion for air power platforms and systems, more than $40 billion for sea power to include 9 more Battle Force ships and nearly $12.6 billion to modernize Army and Marine Corps fighting vehicles. We're requesting more than $130 billion for research and development in this budget. Research and development. $130 billion just for research and development into jihad. Unbelievable. But forgiving student loan debt at $300 billion, that's terrible. But you want us to spend $773 billion in 1 year for this bullshit. We've devoted more than $3 billion to address the effects of climate change. We're also asking that Congress support our efforts to take care of our most critical aspect, our people. Oh, that's good. Our budget requests $479 million to implement the recommendations of the Independent Review Commission on Sexual Assault and a 4.6% raise for our military. So billions and billions of dollars. Look at this. $130 billion for research and development, but only $479 million for the actual operators, the soldiers, etc., sexual assault, and a 4.6% pay raise. Here's the budget really itemized for everybody's viewing pleasure. It's unbelievable. The 2023 DoD budget requested of $773 billion is a $31 billion or 4.1% increase from the 2022 amount. Okay, so they got 750. They had 30 billion more, so they asked for 740 in 2022. Spent 754, and this year they're asking for 773 billion, year over year on war. Who is attacking us? That we need to spend $130 billion just on research and development. Who is attacking us that we need that in the defense budget? I need somebody to explain that to me. 4.6% so here's what they do for their people. 4.6% pay increase. Remember that was part of the $479 million. Funds $15 an hour minimum wage for the federal workforce. Invest in child care, funding new basic needs allowance to help the most vulnerable. $479 million to implement recommendations on the independent review on sexual assault in the military. Why is it going to cost you $500 million to do an independent review on sexual assault? You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like to me to be pork. You know what pork is when they say, oh, we're doing $30 million for this. And then you really look at the line items and it's like 5 vacations to, Belize or something like that. Really? Who believes that the United States military is going to spend all $479 million to be serious about sexual assault in the military? Stop it! Stop it! That's just so that you won't look into it. I'm going to follow up on this by the end of the year, and we'll see how much of that money they actually spent in helping. And then we're going to look at the number of sexual assaults that women are enduring in the military. Let's see if they're really channeling that. $12.2 billion for construction family housing programs instituted, $2 billion for family houses, $1.3 billion for supporting the construction quality of life. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that you guys understood when I talked about the defense budget. We have a very large military, and so there's a lot of people that we have to take care of. So I am excluding the people that we have to take care of, and I wanted to make sure that you guys understood they're actually doing things to help the military. However, the lion's share of the money, of the billions, goes into weapons. Look, nuclear enterprise modernization and recapitalize all three legs of the nuclear triad. I'm not going to explain that. $34 billion, which includes Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine, $6 billion. Long-range striker bomber, $5 billion. Ground-based strategic deterrent, $4 billion. Long-range standoff, $1 billion. 61 F-35s, $11 billion. 24 F-15s, $3 billion. 15 KC-46 Pegasus, $3 billion. The NGAD for the Air Force, $2 billion. Modernized naval forces, they want $41 billion in the Navy. Class destroyers, $5.6 billion. Frigate, $1.3 billion. Virginia-class submarine, $7.3 billion. Combat effective ground forces, more jihad, more blood. 72 armored multi-purpose vehicles, $381 million. 74 amphibious combat vehicles, $631 million. Joint light tactical vehicles, $1.1 billion. Long-range fires, $7.2 billion. Space and space-based system, $27 billion. I don't have to continue. We're spending all this money on war. Every single year, we're spending $700 billion on war in a country that nobody is attacking. Nobody wants any smokes with us, bro. Nobody's attacking America. Why do we need to spend $774 billion a year on this shit? In the midst of the pandemic. Couldn't we cut that in half and repurpose it? Is America going to get completely attacked and destroyed if one year, instead of saying we're going to spend $700 billion on jihad, if we said we'll only spend $300 billion on jihad? Do you think do you think we'd be safe? You think that would make us more or less safe? You think people would be like, oh shit, the Americans are only spending $300 billion in the military. They're vulnerable. Let's attack. No, I think us playing games with the Ukrainian people and using their bodies for proxy wars, I think that makes us more vulnerable. What do you think? What do you think? Just for perspective, dear listener, just for perspective, here's the nation of China. Here's the nation of China. We spent $754 billion in defense last year. Here's what China spent in defense last year. And, China, everybody keeps saying, oh, they're next. Fox News is already preparing us for our war with China. China will spend $229 billion on defense this year, according to estimates presented in the National People's Congress, the Chinese parliament, by the country's premier, Li Keqiang. Its defense budget rose 6.8% in 2021 and 6.6% in 2020. So it's going up, and it's not even coming close to half of America's military budget. We're spending on research and development. We spent $130 billion. We spent half of their budget on research and development alone. Okay, so there it is. I'm glad that these kids got some of the student loan debt forgiven, and now Sketch is gonna jump on and explain to me why. This is a bad thing, particularly from a biblical worldview. Maybe he can explain to me how the rich holding people hostage, how they should be able to get away with that, and all the rest of that. So I'm hoping, Sketch, I'm going to put the the link in the chat, and you jump on, and then we'll be able to have a discussion because I have no idea what you're talking about. So there you go, Sketch. There's the thing. So you can click on that. You can explain to me how it's a Marxist idea to forgive student loan debt when I just showed you in the scripture that God threatens people if they don't take care of the poor. So there's the link. Please click on it. It's right there. It's guest on Ecamm. And then you and I can have a discussion. We could talk about the so-called Marxists. Then you can explain to me Marxist general ideology because you've read a lot of Marx, apparently. I've only read some of Marx. I just finished Das Kapital after a year. So you are... Oh, I can't click without doxing myself, and I don't want to dox myself. That's not true. You can put whatever name you want on that link, Sketch. You don't even have to be on camera. It would just be audio. Yeah, nobody's asking you to be on camera. All you have to do is not select the video portion on the thing. It's pretty simple. You don't even need to cover the camera. All you have to do, because when you click that link, they give you an option for audio and video. All you have to do is keep the audio part off, and then we can just talk. So you can explain to us what you're talking about. Oh, okay. All right. Well, Sketch can't get on, unfortunately. Imagine that. You don't need a camera. You don't need a camera, Sketch. Everybody's telling you don't need a camera. I've had this this software for about 2 years. I know exactly how it goes. You don't need a camera. You don't need to say your name. So you can come on and explain to us how forgiving $10,000 of predatory loans is Marxism, especially from a biblical worldview. I truly need to know. All right, Sketch. Sketch is not coming on. You guys figure out for yourself why that is. I'm not going to speculate. But holy shit. There it is, guys. There it is. Okay, Sketch, call me on Skype. Call me on Skype, and I'll put you by the mic so that you can go explain this to all of us, because I think a lot of people are really are extremely curious as to how you're gonna make this happen. And please educate us all, because I don't know much about Marxism. You know so much about Marxism that you could smell it from a mile away. So we need to learn. We need to learn from you. So how about you jump on Skype? Okay, all you have to do is look for Vin and Sori on Skype, and then call me up. Very, very easy. Oh, I don't have Skype. I don't know how to use it. Oh my God! All right. Well, I'll just let that go. You guys do what you want with that one. Holy shit! Doesn't have Skype. Can't click on the thing. Okay. All right. Shout out to Sketch. All right, guys. That's all I got for you, because unfortunately, here's Sketch. I could tell you BLM Marxists burned our cities and Antifa Marxists bombed our cities. Yeah, they did. They bombed. The BLM Marxists bombed your city? Really? I didn't even know that BLM had an economic platform. Please. Okay, here's this. Sketch. Do me a favor and send us the manifesto from BLM where they talked about their economic theories, because I didn't know that BLM was promoting an economic theory. So all you have to do, Sketch, you don't even have to come on. You don't have to validate anything. You don't have to get on and argue. Everybody knows that you're not going to do that. You're not going to defend your position. All you need to do, Sketch, is get us one document officially from Black Lives Matter organization where they articulated a Marxist economic theory. Okay. Thank you, Sketch. So, Sketch, you don't have anything about Marxist economic theory because you don't know what Marxism is. You're going along with this cultural Marxism nonsense, blah blah blah, that everybody on the right does. Anybody that disagrees with me is a Marxist. Anybody that says anything about the horrible history of how black people were treated, that's CRT. We know exactly where your mind state is. We know who you are now. Thank you. We love you. We accept you. We're just not going to take you seriously because you're influenced by people who don't take you seriously. That those people call BLM cultural they use the term cultural Marxist, and they said, man, these people are not even going to Google. those people that fooled y'all into calling everything Marxism have so little respect for you. They're like, yo, they're not even going to Google that shit. We could just say whatever we want because these people are so full of hate anyway. They're not going to go and Google it because it goes exactly with what they want to believe about the world. All right. Where's White History Month? White History Month is called Captivus. White History Month is called it's called history. All I learned about was white history when I was in public school. It's one of the reasons I don't send my black children to public school. One of the major factors for why I don't. And I'm not mad at public schools, by the way, for being that way, because those institutions were not made for my folks. And I'm not a believer in forcing yourself into contexts where you're not invited. So the public school system was never made for my folks, so my folks aren't part of it. What about white What about White Entertainment Channel? That's racist. No, because all the channels are white entertainment channels. It's like saying it's heterophobic to have a gay pride parade. Ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument. So you're a separatist. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm a separatist, but like, for example, the whole integration thing, I would never send my black children to no school, letting them white kids spit on her and all that type of shit. Like Ruby's parents did. I would have never done that. I'd have just sent my kids to a black school. I don't know what our obsession is all the time of being accepted by your enemy. If the white person doesn't want you in the shake shop, I don't understand the logic of doing a sit-in and forcing the white people. Fucking make your own shake shop, bro. That's one of the benefits of capitalism. Make your own shake shop. Tell all the black people in the neighborhood, man, fuck these people. Let's go over here. We can make shakes just as good as them. Ice cream is ice cream all around the world. We'll make our own shake shop. So all the black people who are 12 to 15% of a given population, now they're going over to this one shake shop. So this guy's losing 12 to 15% of his constituency. And then on top of that, you get a bunch of white allies who probably make up 3 to 5%. That's about a 20% markdown. And trust me, anybody that knows a business make moral decisions based on what happens at their bottom line at the end of the day. So no, I'm not. I don't believe that. I think that the forced integration at the legislative level was a giant mistake. We had the Negro Leagues. We were killing shit. Jackie Robinson, he was like mediocre. Then he went over to Major League Baseball rec shop. Man, we had our own people. We already had the Negro League. We had black schools. We had Negro Leagues. We had black businesses. We were good. We didn't need those people. So that's where I'm at. Captiva says this is white man's country. Well, I know that. I don't agree with MLK's integrationist policies. I don't agree with them. I don't think it's healthy to make a government force people to be nice to you and allow you to use their water fountains. I believe that you should make your own water fountain. Well, no, it wasn't for nothing. I mean, MLK, just because I don't agree with all of his policies, that doesn't mean that I think that MLK was that what he did was for nothing. I'm just saying that the integration plank was a mistake. We had schools, we had baseball teams, we had everything. We had all that shit. So as soon as we started with this integration nonsense, and all of the black businesses went under. No, I'm not. I'm not a segregationist. What I'm saying is that eventually the white milkshake owner would have, of his own volition, have allowed black people into his establishment once he started losing all that business, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Jackie Robinson should have never went over to the other side. She should have stayed in the Negro League, and we should have stood up a Negro League and then let them, the lesser talented folks, they could come over to our place. We didn't need to go over there. It's the same thing with basketball. If we started a league ourselves 50 years ago, this would be a non-issue. So it's this propensity for black people to get into white spaces by force because we don't have the confidence to take care of shit ourselves, start our own businesses, that type of shit, which is not completely true. I mean, we had Black Wall Street, and then you guys know what happened with Black Wall Street. So what we did, we were starting to accumulate some capital and some real wealth. You guys know what happened there. So we had that, and then we had integration. So you married a white lady to stick it to the white patriarchy. No, I married her because I loved her, and that I had never met somebody that loved God as much as she does. So that's why I married her. So that's where I'm at. Well, sketch. I'm not even gonna engage with you anymore because you're not an honest actor. I'm not mad at you though, but it's just a waste of time. Sounds like Farrakhan. Yeah, I love Farrakhan. And obviously, I don't agree that white people were created in a lab by a big-head scientist named Yakub at the Isle of Patmos. I don't agree with that. But separate or die? Yeah, 100%. He's 100% right. I mean, that's just an objective fact. It's just an objective truth. But yeah, I love me some Farrakhan. Listen, I'm not one of those. You know what the guy said? I'm not your Negro. I'm not that guy. So yeah, no, I love Farrakhan. I love Malcolm. Martin. I mean, Martin had his role. He was okay. Good for him. But yeah, I'm a lot more Malcolm than Martin. I'm a lot more Farrakhan than Jesse Jackson, for sure. Yeah, Cornel West. Yeah, he's cool too. Whites freed the blacks. From who, Captivus? Who did the whites free us from? Captivus, who did the whites free us from? Captivus goes, whites freed the blacks, so we should be grateful. I'm very grateful that you freed us. By the way, who did you free us from? Unbelievable. No, I don't think so. I think when them bullets was hitting Brother Malcolm, he's like, okay, I was definitely right then. There's a reason that Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and all these supposed Negro leaders and Candace Owens, there's a reason those people are still alive. Right? There's a reason those people are still alive. So, there we go. No, I don't think Captivus is a Nazi. I don't think he's a Nazi. I think, we're all, a lot of who we are products of our environment. Shout out to Huey Newton. Shout out to Huey Newton and Bobby Seale for sure. Look, I think that if you just look at the experience of black people in this country, it explains why people like Jesse Jackson and all those other people. I think Al Sharpton has a show on MSNBC, for God's sake. If he was out there really truly grinding for his people, they would not put him on MSNBC. Those institutions were not constructed for black liberation or advancement. Oh my gosh. So do you see no outcome where all just get along, or is it perpetual segregation? Well, again, Middle Earth, here's a scenario I created. At the end of the day, people are selfish and they're self-absorbed. So if you're the white milkshake shop person, and you don't want black people to use your bathroom, black people have to use the outhouse. My argument is, man, fuck that guy in his store. You and your friends start your own milkshake shop down the road. And then you tell all the black people in the neighborhood, man, fuck this guy. He doesn't think you're a human being. Come over here. We got the same ice cream as white folks. It's the same ice cream. It's the same milk. We're good. Just come to my place. And my point is, if all the black people in that neighborhood stopped frequenting that milkshake shop, and then on top of that, you had about 3% of your allies, that's close to 15 to 20% of your business. Now, I own a couple businesses. When you have a 20% markdown from your original projection for the quarter, that gets your attention. And all I'm saying is, we don't need the government to tell that guy, no, the black guy's got to use that bathroom. Oh, this is one of the ways where you use the free market. All you do is hurt the guy. You give him a 20% markdown, and then he'll allow you to go to the bathroom. He'll do whatever he can to get that constituency back. The problem that happened with Black America is during the time of segregation, we had all these things. We had schools, we had hospitals, we had banks, we had businesses, because white folks wouldn't let us in. And then as soon as the white folks desegregated stuff, we abandoned all that shit and went in all these white institutions. Like, for the life of me, I don't get it. What is heroic about sending your 7-year-old daughter to an institution where she's going to get called nigger and spit on every single day, like what happened to the first? That girl had to get a police escort to go into school. For what? The black teacher can't teach you that 2 + 2 is 4? What do you need to go to the white school for? That's my problem. That's my issue. So I don't believe in segregation, but I also don't believe in forced integration. I don't believe that. I believe that we could do for self. If you took all the black money in America, we're the 8th richest nation in the world. So we could do for self, but mentally speaking, a lot of black folks are still stuck in the mindset of subservience. So they think that the milkshake at the white place is better than the milkshake at the black place. See what I'm saying? Which is ridiculous. So we shouldn't join the military. No, you should not join the military. You should. Yeah. You don't force people. You don't fucking force your way into some building that you know. Look, man, the only thing we should have been fighting for is, man, leave us alone. When we generate this revenue and we start cycling our money, don't do none of this Black Wall Street shit where you guys went in there and destroyed all these people. And this happened on numerous occasions, by the way. Black people would accumulate wealth and white people would go in there and just completely raze and destroy the city. Because they understood the implications of generational wealth. They knew that if we let these Negroes here and they starting to collate all this capital, they're going to be extremely powerful. Because their kids are going to start from a certain place. So they systematically made sure that generation couldn't pass on generational wealth to the next generation. So that now you and me, the inheritors of that system, you can say that you got there by a Protestant work ethic and all the other shit. Black people just lazy. It wasn't because of redlining or pogroms like Black Wall Street. No, just lazy. So... Anyway, so I don't, no, it's not the past, Captivus, it's not the past. Every 9/11 is a somber day for America. I'm sure if Colin Kaepernick went on TV and said, hey, 9/11 was just the past, we just need to get over it and move forward, I'm sure he'd get a good, well, hey, Captivus, do you celebrate the 4th of July? Because that happened in the past and you weren't there. You had nothing to do with it. You celebrate the 4th of July because you know that what your forefathers did in the past had reverberations that affect you to this day. And you're grateful for the fact that your forefathers killed all those British people over some taxes. You're happy about that. So let's not do this, oh, that was in the past thing, as if the past is somehow disconnected from the present and has no influence on the future. Let's not do that. Okay, so listen, Sketch. I don't care about Democrat or Republican. Like, you, Democrat and Republican's important. You like saying, oh, it was the Democrats that had slaves during the Civil War. As if all the folks in Fox News. If I put Tucker Carlson in a fucking time machine and put him in the antebellum South, are you trying to tell me he wouldn't own any slaves? Get the fuck out of here. You trying to tell me Donald Trump wouldn't own any slaves if he was in the antebellum South? I love y'all though. I love y'all for real. The point isn't really about race. The point really is about student loan forgiveness and not exploiting vulnerable people, not using your position of power to enrich yourself, because from a biblical perspective, if you do that, God says he's going to fuck up your country. He said, if you rob the poor, I will rob you of your life. And I still believe my Bible. Some of these folks are going to die early. You heard what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons I hold on to pacifism, even though I'm a big fan of Malcolm and he means necessary, is I do believe there's a God in heaven. And I do believe that it's a merciful thing. Anytime I see something like this, student loan forgiveness, I say to myself, okay, God is giving us a little bit more time to change our ways before he nukes his country. But if you are a pro-lifer and you rightly get emotional about what happens to babies, this is about what happens after they're born. Because a lot of these people entered into these contracts when they were 16, 17 years old, when they were still just kids. So this is still a pro-life issue. How many people have ended their lives because of economic distress? We'll never know. But this is absolutely a pro-life issue. It is. Because pro-life is not just living or dying. We know that biblically, because when the prodigal son was away from his father, and when he came back, the father said, your brother was dead and is alive again. So that means that in God's mind, life is not just whether or not your biological systems are firing properly. Life is also about the quality of life, because this kid was separated from his family and eating pig slop because he was poor. So part of him being dead was being in that horrible, destitute situation. So this is absolutely a pro-life issue. Predatory lending, predatory capitalism, usury, as the Bible says and as the Quran said, is immoral and wrong. And if you're going to do it, at least put a time cap on it so that people are not your perpetual slaves for the rest of their life. That's the real issue. All right. Much love to everybody. Shout out to Captivus in Sketch. Anybody that says what they say in a context where they know it's not going to be popular, I respect, even if I disagree with the points. And at the end of the day, Middle America is not a echo chamber. People ought to be able to express their opinions fully without any threat of being banned or whatever. You're going to get disagreed with. People disagreed with you in this thing, and I disagreed with you as well. But this is how free speech is supposed to work. You get to say what you have to say. People say what they have to say. I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to block you for disagreeing with me or saying shit that I think is racist or whatever. You have a point of view. You're communicating it with as much respect as you can summon. So I respect that. And our instinct with folks that we run into in that type of situation, we should not immediately have an instinct to shut them down or say they shouldn't be able to talk or whatever. I believe the solution is actually more speech. More speech, which would have very much have been demonstrated if folks had the courage of their convictions to actually get on and have the conversation. I think it would have been even more clear. We black folks need the government, Vin. Yeah, budding anarchist Jubilee. I agree. So there you go. Yeah, Joseph, that's not us. That's Facebook. Facebook did that on your. So in Middle America, our humble little channel is being governed and watched by Facebook. You thought it was bad then. You should have seen what happened when we were during the elections. During the elections, Facebook made us manually approve literally every single post because two people said something about Joe Biden, and Facebook obviously wanted Joe Biden to win. We had one guy that posted the Hunter Biden laptop thing, which we all know is true now, but back then it was false. So Facebook shut down the entire site and made all my moderators had to manually approve stuff. So you must be in some different category, Joe. Because I'm pretty sure that ban is lifted, but maybe I can shoot in. Yeah, same thing with the COVID post, correct? Which also, by the way, I was on the other side of the COVID stuff. When the COVID stuff happened, meaning I was trust the science, get vaccinated, wear masks, yada yada yada. But I allowed people to say their position, and it turns out for the most part I was wrong about that. So I'm glad that I did not use my superpowers to censor those people, even though I disagreed with them stridently. I actually had a guy here. I don't know if he's still here, but I went off on him because there's a bunch of personal stuff going on because of the pandemic, situations with me and certain members of my family that I was supposed to reconnect with and blah, blah, blah. It was just a bad time. But yeah, I was completely on the other side of that. And that's why I think, I was debating damn, I feel like these people are promoting an ideology that's going to get people killed. But at the same time, none of this stuff is completely proven yet. So I was going back and forth as to what to quote allow. And I decided to just stay on the, my mentality was, okay, as soon as somebody posts on COVID, I'm just going to come back. I'm just going to put a bunch of CDC and all that other shit on the thing. And that's how I harmonized it. And that's how I was able to keep it going. But yeah, I mean, but that's the point. That's the point of all this is all of us are growing. And if you limit speech, you don't have a record of this is where you went wrong or this is what was it's okay. We're human beings. You're not omniscient. Means you're not going to be right all the time. So I'm very, very glad that I held to that principle, because I do think there needs to be a record of where everybody was, so that we can learn from it. But I think there's who was that? Yeah, that was you, Middle Earth. I went off on my brother Middle Earth. I really, really went off on him really bad because he just anyway. And the next day I was working or whatever, and God was like, "Yo, you need to circle up with Middle Earth. That was wrong. You're wrong for that shit. You shouldn't have done that." So the next day, thankfully, Middle Earth was in the chat, so I was able to publicly apologize to him because I went after him publicly, right? So if you go after somebody publicly and you're wrong, you should apologize publicly. It's the same thing that happened with the 10-year-old girl, right? I cast a lot of doubt as to the validity of that story, and I said something like, I'm agnostic about the facts of this story. And then the next day it came out, it was clear that she was that she did exist and that actually happened to her. So I shot a video immediately to do that, and I did not take down the other video because, like I said, there needs to be a public record of this stuff. Period. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I think free speech is important. Free speech is important because it helps us think collectively about these things. I know people are big on radical individualism, and I think there's some validity to that to a degree. But because we're not God and because we're not omniscient, we need each other. We're all kind of like that blind person, trying to feel up this this elephant. We're trying to. This person says they have a trunk. This person's got a tail. Whatever. And instead of saying the elephant is all trunk or the elephant is all tail, we say, okay, this person has part of the truth. This person is part of the truth. Let's all get together and see if we can all look at the picture together. The picture can only be viewed together. And so when you eliminate speech, that eliminates a very important aspect of the conversation. So that's why it's important to think that way. Well, Sketch, I might be wrong about you, but we haven't had a conversation. So what could I be wrong about? I anyway. All right, guys. So anyway, that's the point. That's my big push toward free speech. That's why I believe in it. I think that's important, and I also think that we need to think long and hard about the implications of the positions that we're holding to. Let me see. Michelle had posted some stuff. Let me check on Michelle, my sister. Holy shit, she made a lot of points. Hold on, let me see here. Unfortunately, Vin, the system is broken and predatory capitalism does more harm than it does good. The status quo never changes, and because of that, the United States is where it's at today. This is where we as humans get into danger simply because morality is subjected to each person. He or she sees good and evil in morality and defines their own viewpoint in which they believe, even though I disagree with the Bible on many points. And one point in the Bible I agree with is the thoughts on the rich. You do know that war is a business. It allows for politicians and businessmen to pay for guns and ammo and pay for... Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 100%, Michelle. 100%. I agree with you 100%. Okay. No, I'm not going to have a conversation with you over chat. Like, I paid a lot of money for this software. So if you want to come have the conversation, you can jump on. If you're not confident or if you don't have the tech to jump on and have the conversation, that's okay too. All right, guys. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America, we are the media. Till